one at the trial. Now, Fox and Friends had a really hard time on Fox News. The conservative news was really, really struggling to deal with their guy, their hero, looking at going to prison. And it's a pretty good case. I don't know how he gets out of this one, but if he gets out of this one. But Fox News, Fox and Friends had some struggles dealing with it. We're going to watch this for a second because it just cracked me up.
Opportunity to throw this out based on standing?
Well, he could have thrown it out on a number of grounds, but one thing that, I'm concerned about and troubled...
Okay, wait. So, first thing up, could they have thrown this out on standing? Okay, standing is you have to have a reason to go to court, right? You have to have a case, basically, in standing. But it's usually, you don't hear it in a criminal case, you hear it in a civil case. Do you have standing to bring a case? Can you show that there was an injury done to you or a loss or financial or whatever, right? In a criminal case, the standing is implicit. The standing is, we're accusing him of committing a crime. That's the standing. Yes, I think there is a legitimate interest of the people to prevent crime. Go ahead.
Am I correct in my understanding that standing usually is more potentially problematic where like lawsuits and such are concerned? Like, is that where standing comes up for?
Civil trials, yeah. In a criminal trial, the prosecutor has standing, otherwise there wouldn't be a prosecution. Right? So, it's just a stupid question. Was there a question of standing? No. The prosecutor brought the case, a grand jury decided on it. Standing's been determined that, yeah, there's a reason to believe he committed a crime. That's what we're here to figure out. We know the answer, he did. But Michael Cohen already went to prison for this. Other people have already been convicted of this. We know he did this. This is not like a new thing. But I love how they're trying to find their way to justify this, right? Or and it's not even to justify it. It's more just what's that glimmer of hope that maybe he'll get away with it. That's what this is.
By in this case is the judge could have taken a look at this indictment and said, hey, you got to take this back and you got to make this more particularized because it's unclear to me what he actually did. What's the underlying crime? How are we at a felony stage when the statute of limitations has run on, the misdemeanor part? So he could have.
Okay, so this is their legal editor for Fox News. Now, not only they bring up, standing's an issue, it's not in a criminal case. So fuck that one up. That's like basic law school first class kind of, that's pre-law shit, right? Second, her argument is, well, the judge should have looked at this and gone, why is this a felony? What are the particular charges? I mean, they didn't list the particular charges. First off, yes, they did. They always list the particular charges. So I'm going to jump over here real quick. So this is the district attorney's actual webpage. This is Manhattan DA's webpage. District Attorney Bragg announces 34-count felony indictment of former President Donald J. Trump. And they explain what the counts, they don't do them by count on this part, but this is just the press release. But they go through it. So Trump is charged in New York State Supreme Court, indicted with 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree. Okay, people of the state of New York allege that Donald J. Trump repeatedly and fraudulently falsified New York business records to conceal crimes that hid damaging information from the voting public during the 2016 presidential election. Manhattan is home to the country's most significant business market. We cannot allow New York businessmen or businesses to manipulate their records to cover up criminal conduct. As the statements of facts describe, the trail of money and lies exposes a pattern that the people allege violates one of New York's basic fundamental business laws. As this office has done time and time again, we today uphold our solemn responsibility to ensure that everyone stands equal before the law. Okay, so there's 3 instances. Instance 1, all right, America Media Inc. paid $30,000 to silence a Trump Tower doorman who claimed to have a story about a child Trump had of wedlock. This turned out to be bullshit, but they still bribed the guy because they didn't want it to get into the press for the election. This was right before the election, the 2016 election. The second one was they paid $150,000 to a woman who alleged that she had sexual relationship with Trump. This is Karen McDougal. This was the Playmate woman. They paid her off for the story and that it was a catch and kill scheme. And so she had to sign an NDA on that. So they covered that up. And The third instance was Stormy Daniels. 12 days before the presidential general election, special counsel wired $130,000 to an attorney for an adult film actress. This is what Michael Cohen went to prison for. Now, I just read through this whole thing. I'll skip the rest of a lot of the shit for you. It's a really simple thing. If you falsify a business record in New York, it's a misdemeanor. Still a crime. You can't falsify your business records because it's misleading, right? But if you falsify it in the commission of another crime, it instantly becomes a felony. Right? Mm. So, 34 counts of falsifying business records, but each count was to cover up these indiscretions of his, and he did it illegally to manipulate the election. So it's election interference on his part. The shit he always accuses the left of, that's what he did. And that's what Michael Cohen will testify to, and everybody else. And so, Stormy Daniels, all that. This happened. We know it happened, but the thing about it is that's what he did it. That's what they have to prove in court. Because if they can prove that he did it specifically to cover it up for the election, which is going to be really easy to prove, because everybody will testify to it, and nobody's going to really testify against it. Unless Trump gets on the stand, which would be horrid. He'd convict himself. That's basically it. That's basically the crime. It's a really simple, even... I love how that she's like, well, they weren't specific enough. Are you kidding me? They gave us little charts in their fucking press release and in what they gave the judge. Let's see if I can get this to blow up a little bit. There we go. People versus Donald Trump. Step 1, $130,000 hush money payment. This is what's to Stormy Daniels. Step 2, 34 counts of falsifying business records, checks, invoices, and general ledger entries. That's the misdemeanor. Step 3, intent to commit or conceal another crime, including state and federal election laws. That makes it a felony. And Step 4, falsifying business records in the first degree. Boom, it's a felony. That's it. That's the specific charges. And I love it. Well, the judge should have said they should have been more specific. They drew you a fucking map.
Right. They made you a flow chart, Donnie, a flow chart.
That's not him. It's this woman, Carrie Kupek, on Fox News.
Oh.
Yeah, Carrie, flow chart. There it was. Judge did it for you. You're the legal analyst. You should know that. I didn't go to law school.
That's what I do for my students when I want to simplify it.
I followed that. It's simple. It's like okay, if I go into like Lacey's house, I go in without her knowing, I'm just trespassing, which is a misdemeanor. But if I commit a crime while I'm in there, it's burglary, and now it's a major felony. Right? So if I just walk in, okay, it's a misdemeanor, right? But if I go in there and I like steal something, or I threaten her or something like that, boom, instantly becomes a felony. And I'm looking at years in prison. That's all that's going on here. Falsified the business records, okay, misdemeanor, slap on the wrist. But he did it to interfere with elections, violating election law. Automatic felony. That's what he's saying. That's the whole case. And he did it 34 times. So it's 34 felonies. So stupid. But they're struggling to cope with this. They are really having a hard time.
Easily sent that back to the lawyers and said, come back to me with something more specific so that the defendant in this case actually knows what's going on.
And the clock was not ticking during the pandemic. They put everything on hold, or else the statute of limitations would have run out?
Yeah, it ran out during that time. And now, his predecessor didn't bring the case at the time. Now has said in subsequent interviews, well, it's because the pandemic and SDNY told me to stand down. But everyone now, after the fact, is explaining why they didn't actually do it at the time.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Okay. So that's her third bullshit argument. It ran past the statute of limitations. And I'll get into why that's bullshit. But here's what I love about this. They're trying to defend Trump. They bring her on, their legal analyst. I guess this is Lawyer Barbie. So Lawyer Barbie comes on. And her first one is, well, maybe there wasn't standing. Okay. Wrong. It's stupid. It's a criminal case. Doesn't really apply here. I mean, it does, but not in the way she's saying it. 2, okay, well, I don't think the DA was specific enough on the charges, right? So the judge should have dismissed it. And then 3, well, it's been so long, it's past the statute of limitations, they should have just dismissed it. Which is also bullshit, like in a second. But you know what I love? They bring in the legal analysts to defend Trump, and at no point does anybody say he didn't do it. At no point is it, well, the evidence is going to show he didn't do it, or I don't think the case is strong for XYZ reason. That's how desperate they are here. They know he's fucking guilty as shit. They're just trying to find a way to wiggle around it. As for her last thing about the statute of limitations, so, where did I put that? So Fox News, oh, here it is. So that's Fox and Friends, Fox News, one of the most watched cable networks. Hundreds of millions of dollars. Their anchors make millions and millions of dollars. They have limitless resources. And to answer her question about the statute of limitations issue, here's the local NBC News Center in Maine, who has almost no budget, as you can see. And these people are not making millions, as you can see by their clothes and their set. And they're going to explain it for us.
As Donald Trump was indicted, there have been a lot of questions about his upcoming trial and the impact the charges may have on his presidential campaign.
Recently, some social media users have said that Mr. Trump's case should be thrown out due to the statute of limitations. Here's Ari.
Okay, so that statute of limitations thing, because I was wondering, where the fuck did she get that? Because I didn't see it. They just reported it. Some people on social media said it should be thrown out because it's no legal scholars, no lawyers, no analysts, just some guys and girls on social media saying we should forgive Trump. So we'll get back into it. Lacey froze. Well, we'll dive back in.
On detail with what we can verify.
In a Manhattan courtroom on April 4th, former President Donald Trump pleaded not guilty to 34 counts of falsifying business records. The charges stem from alleged crimes that occurred in 2017, more than 5 years ago. On social media, some people say that the case should be thrown out because there's a 5-year statute of limitations for felony charges in New York. This prompted a lot of questions and claims about how this applies to Trump's charges, like this one, suggesting that the statute of limitations can be extended. So let's verify. Can New York's statute of limitations for felonies be extended? Our sources are New York law, Rebecca Puris, attorney and legal editor for NOLO, Paul Schiff Berman, professor of law at the George Washington University Law School, and Jeffrey Kirchmeier, professor of law at the City University of New York's.
And I love this. Low budget, local network news show, right? Not network, I mean, it's local television, right? It's network television.
Right.
No budget. She's got, okay, I went out and consulted 3 lawyers to explain this because all these crimes would have happened in 2016, 2017 when he was running for president. Well, that means that it's been 7-8 years. The statute of limitations is 5, so it should be past it. But there are extensions to the statute of limitations, and that's in every state. And here's the 3 lawyers I talked to, and they all, or professors or academics, they all explained why.
School of Law. Statutes of limitation dictate how much time a prosecutor has to bring criminal charges in a case. Those time limits vary by state and the severity of the crime. In New York, the statute of limitations for falsifying business records is 5 years. Attorney Rebecca Puris says the clock starts when the crime occurs. So if Trump's alleged crime started in 2017, the clock should have run out in 2022. But under New York law, there are some exceptions that pause the clock and extend the statute of limitations for felonies, like if the defendant is not continuously present in the state, which legal experts suggest prosecutors could argue applied to Trump when he was in the White House from 2017 to 2021.
And that's every state. Because I could commit the crime, let's say burglary, and the statute of limitations is 7 years, let's say. And then I could go, well, I'm going to go down to Mexico. And I'm down there for 7 years, statute of limitations runs out, I come back. And they're like, no. I'm like, but it's past the statute of limitations. No, it was paused while you were out of the country, or out of the state.
Right.
You weren't in our jurisdiction. Now that you're back in our jurisdiction, it's back on. So, I mean, every state does that. So that's not a new one.
And the governor can also issue an executive order to pause the statute of limitations, which then Governor Andrew Cuomo did during the COVID-19 pandemic. So we can verify, yes, New York statute of limitations for felonies can be extended. With your verify.
So the local network news with almost no budget verified that. Fox News with millions and millions upon millions of dollars brings on legal Barbie, and she's making some shit up that she saw on social media and doesn't cite the source.
They just sit and scratch their heads, all confused like.
But it just shows you how desperate they are. But